Does it come in waves? Do you find that you write for a burst and then you're dedicated to the characters and developing your own,
I mean,
characters?
as far as my ventriloquist characters,
Yeah.
as far as the writing for my ventriloquist characters, I was not a confident writer for many years. I really didn't know a lot about structure. I was always a funny person, but I really didn't think that gave me legitimacy to, writing for an act. And, it's also hard because, a lot of people hate ventriloquism, and rightly so, because it's always the same thing. They always do set up punchline, set up punchline, set up punchline. Like, what's going to happen, right? It's that, will you cut that out and all that old school stuff that makes people hate it. And I totally understand that. I'd like to find some sort of a catchphrase. It's like, I know it's ventriloquism, but come anyway. You'll hate it less with me. And as far as writing, as far as your previous question about writing for the puppets, for years it was, I was learning. So like anybody else, you start out, you're kind of clunky. First of all, the puppet, I have two main characters that I use. One is the bird of prey, and which was based on, I went to like a Six Flags Great Adventure theme park, and they had that bird show where they say hello, hello, and they feed them a thing, and all right, now fly out and grab the dollar bill and put it in the mailbox, all those sorts of things. And all I kept focusing on was, it's a shitting machine. It would not stop shitting. That entire stage was full, and the text had to come out and keep wiping up just green. He'd feed them the food, and it would come right out the bottom. It was disgusting. And probably if they were a better performer, I would have focused less on that, I guess. But so I had the bird of prey. He was my first character, and really I was just starting out. So it was a basic puppet. The material was, I was immature. So you do crass humor. It was a lot of dick jokes, I just didn't know any better. A lot of puns, which are terrible. Puns are fine, sparingly. I know a lot of ventriloquists, they love the puns, and it makes me want to set their puppet on fire. And I tell them that when I'm helping them. But the material was very generic, and it was just piecing a bunch of jokes together. But eventually, after I had my second puppet, the one that got me most of my television appearances, the world's oldest gymnast, then I thought, all right, it's time to go back to this bird puppet and really make it a bird puppet. So, then I did my homework on the puppets. What do I know about this? It's like an acting exercise. What do I know already? I know that it's a parrot, and then I Googled parrots, and I Googled the types. When do they sleep? What do they eat? How many babies do they have? How do they have sex? How long do they live? Do they like light or dark? All that stuff, and that created kind of the personality. Now still, it's kind of a generic character. It has that ventriloquist voice, that voice that everybody uses for a dummy, but I was doing that for 15 years. I can't change the voice all of a sudden, right? And he is the naughty character. That's always done. I know several ventriloquists have tried letting the puppet be the straight man, and it never worked, and the audience doesn't like it. So that type of digging helped me write better humor, and also understanding that it's not so much about the good material. If you have a character with elements of realness, their behavior patterns, their physicality, the bird pecks its feathers, the bird, a lot of birds turn their head upside down, a lot of birds, do they move fast? Do they move really slow? The world's oldest gymnast, she's a gymnast, but her body must really hurt. She's 91, right? Well, are her athletics catered to her age, or is she foiled by what she's supposed to do because of her age, right? And what does that do? It's the breadcrumbs of human body language. You have to put it into the puppet. So, and the dynamic between the human and the puppet, where I don't just ask a question and they answer it with the joke. She has to think about it. The puppet shouldn't know what I'm going to say unless she says, you ask me this every night. I don't pretend I know the gymnast puppet. Why would I travel with the world's oldest gymnast? She's a guest that was in the audience, or she's doing a show in the other theater. Would she come out and say hello, whatever? She doesn't know my name at first. She keeps saying, what is your name? And then she knows my name, right? That is, to me, what good writing is. I started out as a stand-up and improv guy, so I don't need the puppets to be funny. I use them as an extension of the act. So I am comfortable in leaving them. I also am very, unlike most variety acts that have props, or ventriloquists in particular, I don't put the puppets in the billing. A piece of foam is not going to get higher billing than me. Granted, people remember the puppets more than they remember my name, but I don't care. You know, it's part of my brand, and that's just how I feel about it. You know, there's nothing worse than, hey, it's Bob Smith and Chucky. You know, I just hate that. That's why people hate ventriloquism. You know.